We would like to welcome everyone to the latest channeling session from the members of Ashtar Command on Hades Base for the month of July. I am Russ Hatfield, and could not do this without my twin soul Kara, who is also a higher dimensional member of Ashtar Command. The challenge session for the month is called Time Jumping and DIY Stone Circles. It was channeled by Mark Crocker in September of 1994 and features only 3 speakers. Something else unusual to start things off was that this was one of the rare challenge sessions that the first side is taken up by only a single speaker. In this case, it's the head of communications for Ashtar Command, Corton. Some parts of the challenge session happened, and we could use some explaining. Now, the backstory of the first subject, which is about crossing dimensional barriers, comes from the efforts of Mark and myself to improve on the skill for our trips to the base. Mark already had the method down, though it helped get an explanation of how it worked from the expert. By this point, Mark could be gone from the third dimension for 90 minutes, but spend 16 hours living a second life with his bond mates and children. It's hard to describe crossing a dimensional barrier, but Corton does a masterful job making it sound easy. His suggestion to provide a voice-activated computer in Kara's apartment did come about eventually, though it uses an English keyboard instead of a Syrian one. The next subject, a standing stone circle, never came about because of the price we found it would cost to get the stones of the right size. The information he provides about building one would be valuable to anyone looking to improve their landscaping. All this is to be merged with the crystals and pyramid in the channeling room here in Lake Tahoe. What we do find out about crystals from Corton is that they get clearer with use. They also tune into a person as much as the person tunes into them. His dissertation on crystals is a masterclass which upends the most common held views by a majority of the population. This is all head-spinning knowledge being shared, but there's plenty more to go. The final note for this side is that traditionally I had always been the one to do past life regressions. Mark being asked to do one on me was something that would be a first. Side 2 has Corton wrapping up, and our note on his revelation is that an important crystal of ours given to Carrie was done so at their direction. This is news to us. Kara is the next main speaker, and the notes from her time are that the manifestation we discuss is one I created that held its shape long enough to be noticed. Something else unusual is that she reveals that moss grows to the east on rocks on Sirius as opposed to the north side on Earth. The final note is on the healing crystal we discuss, which I still have. It's approximately 7 inches tall and about 3 inches wide and weighs about 3 pounds. The last speaker is Kara's sister Kiri, and a note for the new readers is that Maxis and Naxis were brothers in Atlantis, and also incarnations of Mark and myself during that time. Unlike other speakers at this channeling session, Kiri was in a joking mood and came up with a good tale on if the Wing Commander Tall were to take his new girlfriend on a date to Earth. That led to the last note for the night, which is that the bar we discussed was not too far off from a bar already on the base near the apartments of Kara, Kiri, and Tia, called the Corner Bar. For a full transcript of this latest channeling session, please go to our main homepage at hadesbase.com. We invite you to subscribe to be kept informed of future postings on our YouTube channel from the members of Ashtar Command. And now, we present our latest entry into the Hades Base archives recorded in 1994. Time Jumping and DIY Stone Circles.
Okay, time for achievement. Alright. Movies without movies. So suppose you have achieved that point where you cut through at the precise speed that tunes the chunk. When you return, because of your speed, you enter the fourth dimension. You see, when traveling from one dimension to another, you can very easily skip over another dimension, which is what you have been doing until this point. You have been skipping over the fourth dimension, which means that when you are here for 1 hour, you have left for 1 hour. However, when you enter fourth dimension, then you are able to manipulate time.
So now that I'm starting to have a desire to come back to time, I'm going to go with you. I'm thinking about this thing.
Yes, that would be the best way to put it. Now it is a matter of beginning to control it. Control is done by angling your re-entry into the fourth dimension. Yes, you have to angle in from the point of origin, from fifth dimension to the fourth, and kind of use an inverted parabola so that you exit above your original entrance point when you came through in the first place. Do you wish me to explain in detail?
No, it's simplified.
Okay. Now, when you enter the time frame of the fourth dimension, you do it in a perfectly linear line, correct? Now, re-entry from the fifth to the fourth has to be done from your point of origin. You angle down, it is approximately for a 1 hour time jump, it is approximately 2 particles, a particle being a 3-dependent unit, a particle of time, which would be the equivalent to your turns about twice your body length. And your re-entry point will be at half at your length of your body. Now, for a greater particle of time, if you had been up here for approximately 4 hours and you wish to return an hour after you left, you would be 24 lengths of your body. And you have to exit at the length of your body from your original entrance point into the fourth dimension.
Okay, now, how do you spot the entrance into the time zone question?
It is like a bruise, a white bruise you see, which heals itself. You cannot go past it, as this is traveling backwards in time, as it were. It is impossible to travel in your universe backwards in time. You can travel backwards in time to another parallel universe, which may be so minutely different from yours that it would be indistinguishable. The sky may be a slightly different color, and everything would be exactly the same. Maybe a lighter shade of blue or a darker shade of blue.
Crowded in there.
Yes, it would. That is why it is impractical to try to jump into another parallel universe. Also, a considerable amount of energy to do so. And it is quite hard to do, even by accident. You need quite a large quantity of energy.
Okay, so if I have this light, theoretically, all you're traveling basically one particle in your re-entry into third dimension from your entry point.
Yeah.
But it's your entry point fifth into fourth that changes.
Right. For the duration of time.
Okay. And the basis for that duration would be based on an hourly regression. And an hour, a 2 hour time bump would be two particles.
No. 4.
4 particles.
It goes 2 for 1 hour, 4 for 2 hours, 6 for 3 hours, and so
I see. I mean, kind of a hit and miss kind of thing, right?
on. The re-entry point,
Right.
no.
I'm trying to set 8 to 20 body lengths and the point where you enter in. It's more or less a sight guess.
No, it isn't. Because that a lot of time has already passed. When you approach it, you would, if you look down, you would see your original access point into the fifth dimension. So you will automatically leave at level 2 or 4 or 6 particles to re-enter.
So it's sort of marked for you.
Yes, because it has elapsed.
Oh, that's handy.
That makes it easier.
No, I did want to believe the time jump today, where you can sure some of got a lot of stuff done in a very short amount of time. Is there a way to keep track of time out there? Or how much time has elapsed up there?
Time is not measured that frequently up there.
Right.
As you may have noticed, sometimes people are working when you arrive, and sometimes they are available to talk and discuss things with you. It is not on a fixed schedule.
So the trick is just to make sure that time down here is the right time.
As a rule, that is nothing to be concerned about, unless, of course, you are working with a limited amount of time that you have to be attending your work function.
So that's the question. Okay, so the re-entry point, that one particle of time that you're coming from fourth into third G, that's an hour difference down here.
Correct.
So you can judge how much time you want passed, how much of that particle you use.
Correct.
Come back a half hour, you use half a particle.
Correct. And that's just cutting it very fine.
Okay. Because yeah, I came in, I wanted to cut it for about 15 minutes this morning.
That is very hard to achieve.
Yeah, but it worked out to be 40 minutes.
Yes.
But whereas up there, I spent at least hours, it seemed like.
That was quite possible.
Now that I'm getting to this point, where can I go to extend my time spent before? More energy?
No, more practice, more stamina. It is because your body is limited and your desire, you've done everything you can. If you wish to return. But you should set yourself tasks to do. For example, spend an hour with Tia, spend 3-4 hours with Tara, play racquetball, body paint, work on
Hobbies, right?
yes, work on hobbies, gather information for your learning process. you have free access to our computers if necessary. You always have that. You can do things in a holographic vector so that you can learn easier. Little play acts.
Yeah, that would be more.
Yes, it would make it easier for you to be able to digest the information. We can program, if you wish, the computer terminal and Tara's one to be activated to your voice as well.
And that had historical stuff and stuff too.
Yes. There are some information that is restricted to you.
Right, obviously. It is say restricted access.
Access denied, security clearance needed, and so on. We use the term security clearance for your understanding.
Yeah. Working more on a three-dimensional level. Currently I'm working on setting up a garden project and wanting to mix the energies from it here with the energies out there. Now, have we established a sort of vortex theory of this really?
Yes.
Now, would the wind start a later?
You wish a line of energy.
Oh, that means completely back there.
What you might do is create a stone circle of some kind in the backyard and then have an anchor stone somewhere in a linear line with it.
Okay, that was my other question. It's probably a circle. What would be the trademark of this one to set up the circle? Like, for example, how would I be able to get that line with the pyramid?
Okay, what you'd have to do is plant your circle in a line with the pyramid, and then by using an anchor stone opposite the circle, a line of energy would be established. It would not be a particularly strong line of energy because the longer the line, the stronger the energy flow.
Oh.
Yes, it would be not a noticeable increase in energy.
Now, within the stone circle, I'm looking at filling in black stone to save on.
You wish to know if that could be done?
Right. And would that affect the image?
No. Depending on the type of stone you use and whereabouts it is placed within the circle depends on the energy flow that would affect that. It also depends on the size. Not always should a stone be placed in the center. Sometimes it is necessary to leave the center of the circle unfluttered by objects. So if you were to place a stone to sit on the northern end, this would be in a better position.
Now, would the fact that the circle is being built in scale, you might say, be a factor? Or is it going to be a small circle?
Yes, partly.
So in other words, say we have a circle 6 feet in diameter. Using stones to mark out this angle. Would they be set up in a position to start?
Yes. You would have to place one facing Polaris and then one opposite. And then you would work out where the summer solstice, where the sun rises to face another one, and one opposite that. And so on. You would select various stars. For example, you may wish to place a standing stone where Mars is, and then one opposite is the sighting stone. As a rule, the sighting stones tend to be a little bit higher.
Well, Mars is right.
Yes, but you would place it where you wish on the summer solstice, or the winter solstice, or the equinoxes. You see, you cannot create a standing stone circle overnight. It takes time and patience.
Now, why would this sighting stone be higher? So, like, the shortest to look up for sighting.
Because you stand behind the first stone and you look across at another stone. By having the sighting stone higher means that you can get down and look from the lower stone to the higher stone. And by adjusting your angle, you would be able to see and sight the aforementioned objects much easier.
I see. So if you know that Mars will be exactly lined up in summer solstice at these sites, then from there, any time of the year, you can pretty well gauge out where you'll find it along that line.
Correct. And also, you select a time that would be best suitable to do this. For example, midnight, or 4 a.m. in the morning, just before sunrise. See, by doing this, it would be easier to use it as an astronomy. No, that's not quite what I had in mind. An observatory. And also you would be able to use it as a calendar, would you not? And also if you could find a line already in existence which would join this, then the energy would be greater.
Well, let's say a mountain peak in the distance.
We refer to a ley line already active.
And those are
Yes. By doing so, you would be able to have the energy supplied from a full-size ley line instead of a miniature ley line. You see, the energy flow of a ley line is that of its length plus the circles and the obelisks along that line. And by doing so, the energy is amplified. Now with a miniature one, it is, if you build it to a scale of, let's say, the Avery stone circle, and you have it on a small scale of that, let's say 1/100th of the size, then you have 1/100th of the energy. And that is also decreased by the length of the ley line. If you were to scale the ley line, build a ley line 1/100th the size of the one that runs through Avery, then that would be the effect. But with a shorter ley line, one, let's say, that is 1,000th of the size, not only is it decreased by 100, but it is also divided by the 1,000.
So it's more visual skills.
Yes. But if you can connect up with a ley line that is already active, or place a standing stone on the scale further away and then another one further away still.
Ah, that might be worthwhile. Now, one thing on the exact other side of the device, there is a balancing stone.
If you could run parallel to that,
Well, how about if we lined up with that?
that is a possibility.
That might be the connection we're talking about.
That would be a useful connection.
Okay, and then from there, so we use an anchor stone between the pyramid and the stone circle. And then we put another stone out, let's say, a mile away in line with what we've got so far.
A mile away would put you in the light, or like that.
Within sighting distance.
Yes.
Nice. And so on.
And so on. Yes. Okay, next question, please.
Okay. Now then. Oh. On question on crystal, I'm noticing that they are devices for transmission and receiving.
Yes.
Okay. Now, would the clear crystal, the ones with the less stuff in them, be then a clear transmission receiving device?
Yes. The clearer the crystal, the easier it is to transmit. Hence why this one has gone from semi-clear to almost perfectly clear.
Which is easier. So that's what's having in mind.
Yes, it has been cleared by being used frequently, increasing its capability to transmit and receive. What it is transmitting is you. What it is receiving is also you. If you understand, I will explain. When you far sight, the crystal transmits you to your location that you have decided to go to. When you return, it receives you. The more you far sight, the clearer it becomes. It reflects your progress.
Now, why do different crystals react differently?
Because crystals are tuned or will tune to a person. If it cannot tune to a person, then it does not function as well. It is like a radio. It tunes in to a person. And when it cannot tune in because the person is on too far a frequency from it, then sometimes the crystal will go elsewhere. It will force the person to lose it, as it were.
Oh, I think it will.
Yes.
How is it that you were changed with different crystal? I mean, is it set up from genetics?
No, the crystal will tune into you.
Okay, so when you're like looking over a pile of crystals,
Yes.
and you're thinking that this and that, you kind of feel different.
Correct.
Why is it that one of them be tuned closer to you than, say, the one next to you?
Because it is like people. They each work on a different frequency. And the one that has a frequency nearest to you, that is not too far away from yours, will tune into it, into your frequency. Crystals have many frequencies that they can work on. There are so many frequencies that they're all close together, so that it can tune into one frequency that matches your frequency.
So groups of people who are associated very closely all tend to send out in the same frequency.
Or very close frequencies that will infringe on each other's frequencies. For example, the missing young lady, she has the fortunate gift that she can move from one frequency to the other without realizing it. But she is also, her normal frequency is close enough to yours and Mars that she can communicate.
So that means crystals attuned to us will attune to those people also.
Correct. If you look around at all your crystals and think how many crystals there actually are, it is a very small fraction, and most of the crystals that you have work closely on your frequency.
Oh. Maybe I get back towards one, but these are the ones talking to us.
Correct.
So they work together as a group also.
Correct.
So that means groups of crystals travel in groups as do groups of people.
Correct. Oh. Because people and crystals work together for various uses. For example, your large healing crystal, it works on a frequency that you have. So therefore, it could be used by either yourself, Bethany, or the channeler, or another young lady does.
That's how strong the crystal is.
Correct.
And so that crystal will have better effect healing within that general group of people.
Correct. So by each crystal having a function and having a crystal that can replace it if necessary, or many crystals that can be used for various functions within the healing spectrum. For example, your scalpel crystal. That is another healing crystal. There are many different functions. The large crystal is a broad spectrum. The scalpel crystal has a very narrow function, but just as important. You could substitute one for the other in the purpose of using it as a scalpel, but you cannot substitute the scalpel crystal for the big crystal, because the big crystal can do many other things besides the small, precise work of the scalpel crystal.
But wouldn't even the big crystal for scalpel work be a pretty big scalpel?
No, because you can focus this energy. It would be hard for the person using it to work, because, please, no swearing, because it is heavy, as you say. It can be used in a small group. It can be used by an individual, but it functions best with a big group, or not necessarily a big group, but with more people.
And what about clustered crystals?
Clustered crystals are, have many functions. They are like a group of people that are bound together, but with different functions. By placing a group of crystals together, you have a community of crystals that can function in the support of each other.
Now, with you have a cluster of crystals, you're still those all those crystals have to reach the same frequency as the big cluster.
Correct.
Now, how's that affecting the nature of all coupled with too? It really can't explain to
It would be like one of your cities. Maybe you have a group of crystals that are healing crystals that would be plucked together within that cave, and a group of file-soaking crystals and energy crystals and information crystals and storage crystals and so on. Some may be mixed together because they function well as a group of mixed crystals. Some may be grouped just healing as just energy and just history.
Now you're going to make infinite terms of these clusters to learn their purposes.
Yes. As a rule, most clusters are an assorted batch. Occasionally you will come across a specialized cluster.
Now can these clusters be programmed?
To change from one function to another.
Or say blank them out and then using programming for various functions?
No. Not unless it is a specific type of crystal. If it is specifically for records, then you can reprogram it to store different types of information, but it will only work within its field. And then there are crystals that are so specialized, such as your scalpel crystal, that it is impossible to reprogram them without wiping them totally, and then they are useless. And to reprogram a crystal can take considerable time and energy.
Now getting the record out of record, is that same thing as like parsing into the crystal?
Yes. You would go into a state such as this and feel the energy of the crystal and try to become at one with the crystal. When you achieve oneness with the crystal, you would then be able to relate the information. Do you have one available?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's this.
Okay. Maybe you ought to try an experiment one evening. We will monitor and plug into the crystal, as it were. Is that understandable?
Yeah.
You may wish to have somebody to stand by to receive the information, or some recording device for somebody to prompt the accessing of the crystal, because it will not be you speaking, you will not be describing what you see. It will be the crystal that will be relaying the information via your vocal cords interacting with your brain. The best way to describe this would be a bit like under Officer Toll's symbiotic relationship with his ship. You and the crystal would be, at that point, one and the same, but yet you would be two different structures.
Now to enter into the crystal, you would need to raise the loading vibration.
The crystal will try to match your vibration. It would have to match your frequency, and to speed up the process you would either have to raise or lower your frequency depending on the frequency of the crystal.
A crystal typically goes faster than reading.
Yes, but there are some that are slower because store information over such a great amount would have to go at a slower vibration so that it could store that.
So the bigger the record.
Correct.
Who programmed these in the first place?
We cannot disclose that information.
Okay, well I guess I'll find out when I go to later.
That will be explained. The question is, are you ready to go into it? Do you have the stamina to do so?
I think my farsighted needs to get my book better first.
Unfortunately, the ideal person is unable to farsight at the moment. And she has worked with, yes, she has worked with crystals for quite a bit of her life.
Oh. So by the time she's ready to do it, I'll be ready to do it.
Probably. You have to remember that she is a much better farsighter. Because the stamina is part of it and learning how to access the information.
Okay, so the information though could be of a level where I can't comprehend it due to such technological advances.
Yes. You may, by lowering your frequency, you may get some of the information. If you do not match its frequency. Or you may get so much information that it would overwhelm you.
Now would it be projected in pictures?
Pictures, words, whatever was occurring at the time that it was collecting.
So it's sort of like a holographic imagery like you're talking about.
Yes.
Okay, good.
You're welcome. Now, I have a question to ask. At a recent monitoring session, it was brought to my attention that you were discussing with the channeler doing a different type of farsighting similar to a regression.
Yeah, we're going back to finding a field in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm. Have you done so?
Actually, that was all actually about.
We suggest that you try this sometime.
Now, for doing this, what is the basics I'm going to be using to guide
You would ask certain questions, such as, can you describe the color of the building? Can you see any letters? How many windows? What do the letters say? Can you get in closer to see the letters? Are there any distinguishing features of the house? What does the plant area look like? Are there any landmark features within the vicinity? Questions that can give you a much better description of the area. How far away is it from a major thoroughfare? And so on.
So it's not just as easy as going out on the street.
No. That is an easier way of doing it, but it would not be as much practice. Practicing this is necessary to achieve a much clearer, fine focus. We understand that at short distance, and this is short distance for the channeler, He has difficulty with his fine focus because it is so close that it is almost a glare. So this would aid in his fine focus and yours.
Okay. So going and finding the telephone, finding that it's written down on the telephone.
Start off with yes. And we also believe that the channeler does have restrictions on entering somebody's place of residence without their willing and without them knowing and without them saying please come in on a mental level.
Oh. Okay, we'll work on that solution.
Okay.
And everything else I'll say for everybody else.
Okay. You are learning that it is necessary to save information, questions rather, instead of handing so many questions to one person at a time.
Right. Well, I kind of overloaded you.
Overloaded? I could keep going about stem circuits. I could keep going about crystals.
Well, we'll get to go over next time. I'll go back. I have more information to work with.
Okay. Now, accessing information crystals. We have already covered lowering your frequency. We have also covered accessing. That may be a way to achieve the same results. What you could do is again try to achieve harmony with the crystal, match its frequency, and then do a regression type setup, but with very detailed questions.
Oh. Cool. Okay, so you go, one person go and guide the person through the crystal.
Yes. You may be the better person to do it as you have had a much better rapport with the crystal, so therefore the channeler would take the place of being the questioner. So therefore you would both learn, the channeler would learn how to increase his fine focus on a short distance, and he would learn how to do a regression, and you would learn how to ask precise questions and also get to experience a regression that is not your own.
Yeah, really.
Yes.
Okay, good. Now, for now, maybe practice on just going and getting to know the crystal.
Yeah, become friendly with it. Carry it around with you so that it knows you. It is for a crystal that collects information, the storage crystal, it is not advisable to have it stationary in one place because it gets the same input. However, with the recent technological advance with radio waves, microwaves, television waves, it now has a much wider field to receive information. So it may be able to tell you what was happening 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and then the information 100 years ago may be a little narrower. To a certain extent, yes. But you must remember that, like that crystal, its information input will be limited. You would have to find a master crystal to work with the storage crystal. Possibly an energy crystal to augment its energy level so it can pull in more information and act as a focus for other crystals.
The big one.
Possibly. You would have to find out if they're on the same frequency. If not, if they're close enough, you could act as a bridge and tune into one frequency and then transfer yourself to the other crystal and tune into that frequency. But you'd have to keep on doing this, changing from one frequency to another at such a rate that it would be quite a strain. However, certain storage crystals have played key parts in the past. Yes. For example, maybe there is a crystal that would be able to tell you what was going on in the Andalusia.
Huh?
Sorry. The Moorish name is Spain.
Oh.
That's a quick history lesson.
Yeah, real quick.
Sorry, we did not mean to, Andalusia.
Now what about double tuning?
Double terminated. Those are very interesting crystals. Most of them have a very interesting history. Yes, and I believe you have one that has recently been passed to another person. And another one. Yes. The channeler gave to somebody. Yes. That has gone to the desired person. Or the person that we decided to go to. It is ideal to help them with problems.
Now, is that because the energy flows straight to you?
Yes, it flows and it pulls as well.
So it pulls energy in and sends it out.
Yes, correct.
Whereas regular crystals just got energy in.
Yes, like a funnel. And then there are exceptions to the rules. Okay, that is my say for this evening.
Okay.
Now I should make more room in this very crowded room, and I will wish you an enjoyable evening, and I wish to go and discuss things with the channeler and also talk with him and his son.
Oh, thank you, Corey.
You're welcome.
How's it going, bro?
Certainly technology.
Well, how's it making one again? Life wonderful. Excellent.
Certainly technology.
Yeah. Had fun this morning?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Now. Oh, so
Stop. You go like 3 to 1. Hold on a second. Hold on, I'm going to go ask a question of Ramal before he goes. He says he wants to join forefront with the channel that they have things to discuss concerning crystals, I believe. So hold on a second.
okay.
Tell you what, I'll come back in a few minutes. I'll hand you over and we will discuss what they return them. those things that go together.
Okay. Thank you. See you.
Lift up your mind and play dance free.
Kinda. Thank you for all your help this evening. It's just kind of funny to talking to you all day because I'm talking to you here.
Did you like it?
There was a slight break, and now we're back to our main program.
Did you like me doing that?
Well, thank you. I love it. I'd be lost without it. Okay, so, now then, can you help, if you could, work on this little circle?
Mm-hmm.
Work in maybe chord times and help on the right place.
Oh, sure. Sure. I will try to do my best.
I'm trying to look at records and see what my best what line is set. Well, I'm going to set up to the low energy levels just so that I could see.
Okay.
So,
How about making a mound for it to sit in? Or digging a ring around it and then making a mound so that they're kind of a bit like a castle with the moat around it.
oh, yeah. And that's just going to be helpful.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. Teamwork.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Concerning a certain manifestation of this
Mm-hmm.
something that I know that's a permanent fixture on
No.
Hades' face now.
No, they've melted.
Well, I figured.
But they lasted quite a while. Long enough.
Well, that's good. You think that somebody to do his work on how to get a little more solid?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I've got some new things.
Well, you
When are you going to put some clothing on me?
never thought of that.
Red, I've got red, I've got blue, I've got gold, I've got white.
Cool. Special.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty,
Sorry, so let me be serious.
now then, now,
Sorry, you just said something that amused me. Okay, carry on.
oh yeah, taking a class now in navigation and moving supply.
Mm-hmm. You kind of get lost. Okay, so next time I tell you to get lost, you will, won't you?
Now I'll know where to go.
Yeah, but then
Maybe
you
I'll
won't be getting lost, will you?
maybe I'll just watch.
Alright?
Sorry.
Useful hint on how to navigate in the wilderness. You can look at the sun, and that will give you not only the time, but the length of the shadow, and south, north. Well, where is the sun that looks down? Well, it should be in the south. South, almost straight down. Which gives you a very short shadow, but that short shadow points to the north.
Oh.
Yeah. If you put the short hand facing the sun,
Right.
that will give you a point on the compass. For example, if you standard for the actual in it is 6 o'clock, at 12 o'clock, then 6 o'clock becomes north.
What face east in the morning, I think so.
Then it would be early morning, about 9 o'clock, then it would be 3 o'clock on your watch, or 9 o'clock. I always use compass when I go out.
I'll work on
Another one is, I'm serious, when I was a young girl and went hiking. Often by going to a rock, seeing which side had moss on it. As a rule, yes, because it's actually, it would favours east on series. Because that's the way it's always in the protected side.
Oh, really?
But you get the general idea. You can find out where the local currents flow, and it's the opposite side is always protected. Next question.
Okay. Now I take it you have influence with my opinions.
I was going to ask you the same question, actually. Hold on a second. Okay, so we stuck our fingers into his ears. Or have you been having the same sort of dreams as I have?
I would probably assume so.
Ah, okay. That solves that problem. Okay, next question.
Alright. Now.
Is the two-line asleep?
Who I think it is?
Oh.
Oh.
Oh. Oh.
You should get me. If you got your whole weekly stuff.
Maybe if I was in Syrian hieroglyphic.
No. It'd be interesting.
Okay, no.
Okay, so, from here.
Now we're getting to the sensible stuff, huh?
That's probably the first for everything.
Yeah, it makes a change, doesn't it, buddy boy?
Yeah, okay. Okay, now,
Oh, hi, two-line.
course I'm going to on crystals.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at theory with crystals. I'm trying to figure out how to track down other crystals to start my scaffolding instead of feeling.
Mm-hmm. Take your feeling scalpel with you when you do so. And when one crystal feels in harmony with the scalpel crystal, bingo!
Now, would various crystals do various healing? One, like, say, one's a scalpel, one is like for a whole area?
What do four-comes tell you?
Really, these crystals just...
Yes, you did briefly. You said that there are some that are, best way to say it would be general practitioners,
Oh,
and some specialized. Mm-hmm. Like your big healing crystal. Tell you what, bring it over.
one?
Go touch. It's go time!
Crystal.
Okay. Now let me see. Okay. Useful. Very useful crystal. It has a couple of strong pins that can work in. Okay. Let me go bold. It has bags of energy. More energy than you can have, and I'd have a lot of fun with this. I'd be able to, if I work with it personally, I could come here, be able to suck away, repair a leg instantly, be able to fix teeth almost instantly, unclog little blocked up areas due to certain nicotine habits. Take a bit of time on that, because that's a little bit denser material to work with. Lungs are very difficult to work with. Be able to do all sorts of lovely things with it. Like be able to stop anybody from losing hair as well. That's stop it from looking older.
So, now how would I gain the energy towards?
Okay. I believe Qualcomm was on about matching frequencies.
Do the crystal follow with?
To start off with, yes. Now let me see if I can be a real smarty pants. Okay. You got a cut? A splinter?
Oh, cut. Oh. Wait, yeah, here we go. The scratching counters.
Okay. Alright. Put the cut on the top. So I'd like to hand out coordination. I'm going to have to ask you to slide across the top by putting forwards. And let me pass it forwards. Sucking energy. Right, this is the hard part. So I'm going to try to use some of my energy over this distance. Hold on this feeling. Here we go. See, it's the energy from it's flowing both ways. It's flowing out of there to here and out of there to there.
Well, since you and I are so close and on the same frequency,
Maybe I'll tune it in for you.
right?
It's nice, comfortable, it's nice. Ooh, it tickles. Tickles from the tips of my toes right the way up to up to the roots of my hair. When are you going to come up?
Oh, probably.
Okay. I'll be ready and waiting for you.
Okay.
Well, I suppose I better hand back to little sis.
Okay.
Right. Let me, for the sake of the channel, so he doesn't get so confused. Let me see. Okay.
I'll see you later on, darling.
Yeah.
Of course.
No limits now. Oh, nearly forgot. Okay. When's your next challenge session?
That would be next Sunday.
Okay. Cornas will be there probably approximately. Wonderful. Okay. Cornas will be available at 1:15 of your time. Yeah. So if we could start the session earlier, about 1, that'll give you plenty of time to get home and get everything set up.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, darling. See you very quickly. Cheers.
So, the question answered.
Okay.
Yep. Now, you want to know, and they said I could tell you want to know why Mark was selected to be the father of the terrible threesome, little kittens.
You can be such a good father.
It seems to be a broken father's in the baby was at the moment, changing a dirty nappy.
Oh. It is. You don't have to do
Yeah, he's going to gas fast.
it.
Okay, now, remember a certain channeling session concerning the crystal, Mudstrail, and you, and the channeler, think that which one is that?
Look at your phone.
What session was?
Mark's regression and the astrology.
So we have this. Okay. Now, you only know a little about Naxos. Right? And it's lived a long time. Right? Well, it had 3 daughters. Well, actually, a couple more than 3 daughters. Literally about 4 or 5 daughters and about 8 or 9 sons. That were triplets. Identical triplets.
Oh.
Whereas only 2 of them are identical this time. And they haven't been able to reconnect for such a long time. And finally, the mother, the father, and the 3 little monsters were all together again.
So that would.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I saw them working around the crystal,
Mm-hmm.
but I was not.
Mm-hmm. But it is more than likely that Maxis had already been diminished, had ceased to function at that time. Because if you remember, the channeling session shortly thereafter, you were informed that Maxis died, was it about 100 years after?
Like that.
Yeah. And Maxis continued to live for quite a while after that. So it didn't tell me how long, but quite possibly long enough to have a few more kids, or 3 more. So I think that they were the 3 youngest. Yeah, I think that's what it said.
So we've got some potential here that's pretty incredible.
Mm-hmm.
How much of that life are they going to remember from now?
I don't know, I'm not the scientific type.
Now, if you have records
Mm-hmm.
of that time frame,
Mm-hmm.
then Tia could basically answer your questions about that time.
Most of those records are restricted.
Oh.
One of the few people that has clearance other than the Council of 12 and certain senior personnel is a junior person that is not channeling tonight because she is in Cornas's lab who needles stuff in very beautiful places.
Oh, girl.
Yeah. And she does have access. But
The purpose being that knowledge of that life would be denied them anyway.
but she will not divulge that kind of information.
Of course
And if I try to caress her, ooh, it's you hanging over a hedge of very angry crocodiles. Is that correct, crocodiles?
not. Like, I believe.
Yeah, by my little toes.
Oh, remind me, how's your new girlfriend?
No, she's fine. She's fine. She's looking forward to meeting you. And, she doesn't want to travel. She lives in Twilight apartment, and which is 4 doors away from big cities.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. So maybe next time get the swimming pool, we'll see her. But she's working at the moment. She works quite a lot actually. Probably too much. Neither my email, like wow. It's not enough for me. It's not enough for her either. That's why I've got to up. We're going up for a walk in the woods.
Sounds like fun. Alright.
Okay, but do you have any questions for me? Do you have any questions for me?
No, no problem.
Oh, what's that noise?
Which one is it?
What's whirring noise?
Oh, that's it. Alright, there.
Oh, right into that repeat there.
Thank you for your assistance on everything.
Boy, you can't get rid of me that easily, huh? Oh, guess what I bumped into earlier on today? Guess who? Give you a clue. That person had a young lady with. Give you another clue. He worked very hard recently.
Carl.
Yes!
Oh.
Phew.
So how's he doing?
He's been better. He seems to be a lot more mischievous.
Enjoy his R&R?
Mm-hmm. He's planning on taking a trip, yeah, I think so. He's planning on using his ship, his hospital, to show this young lady some sights.
Sights?
Mm-hmm.
Which door is it?
Paris in the spring.
You know?
Yes. It's the same. They'll always have Paris. And they want to go, he wants to take her to somewhere on the coast of Africa. Begins with an M.
Morocco?
Yeah. There's a place he wants to go. It's to go to the Casbah,
The chance.
well, let me see.
Casablanca.
Yeah, play it again. Yeah,
Oh,
I do like old music sometimes. Of all the gin joints in all the world, you have to walk into now.
the fact that it's not too very miles away.
Hey, that's an idea.
Well,
We could on top a bar.
yeah, we could.
What should we call it? Nick's place? Or how about,
Kiri's Corner.
or, I was trying to think of something that we all have in common. The Narcolep's Anonymous. What would be good for you? Oh, I know. Spacebar.
Spacebar.
Or how about the UFO bar?
No, it doesn't like that suit.
Yeah, certainly no. Shouldn't say, yes.
I love the meetings or hang out.
No. How about Sushao? Sushao, come on. Earth history.
Susha.
Not Earth history, Earth geography. It's a place in China.
Sounds Chinese.
Sushao.
Oh.
Sushao is the food, as you like to, I like food. Kara likes food. Kia likes food. Mark likes food.
My likes to. Okay.
The Sushao. So seashores by the seashell.
The Chia house.
A hot house. Oh, that's it, the hot house.
The hot house, that would do.
Do I have to wear those very short shorts?
Yeah.
What do they call them? Hot pants?
Hot there. Serving flaming drinks.
Okay. Well.
Well, get your liquor license. We're set to go.
Yeah, I'm just joking. It's a nice idea where it works.
That was a great idea.
How much time do we have before things go snip?
Looks like maybe hard to say. 5 minutes? Yeah, maybe 5 minutes.
Shall we use that or?
Might as well.
Okay, now let me see. What can we talk about? Oh, do you have any questions more to Tia? Our connectors multimedia.
Let's see.
Have to excuse me, she's sticking her tongue out.
Well, maybe she can ask me a question on farsighting real quick.
Okay, let's try.
Okay. Now, my body's still registering outside noise while flying down here and send it to my body up there. Now, what's the best way I can eliminate that?
Stick something in your ear. I can ask Tia that. That's what I was saying. Block out all noise. Now let's see what Tia says. Okay. Tia says focusing on one noise and one noise only. Listen to it until, hold on a second. Listen to it until it drowns out all other noises.
So that coffee got a good enough that the probably first for it.
Yes. Next question, she says.
You be okay there?
I'm fine and dandy.
Okay.
It's a very small amphibian.
Oh. Another question. Mark and I were both wondering, why don't you get serious?
Hold on a second. Mind your own business.
Okay. Martin, what's that? I'll let him deal with it then. Okay.
She says she understands why he's upset, but it's none of his business. All yours.
Okay. Alright. Oh, how should I chocolate?
Love it. How about putting some whipped cream on me instead? It's the best time I've seen Tia go red. Is there something that she's done with whipped cream that she's not telling me?
I wouldn't doubt it.
Ooh.